Welcome back. Today we're embarking on a really fascinating deep dive. We're looking into an ancient narrative, one that weaves together family, deep spiritual insights, and, well, a surprising twist on what it means to be senior. Our source for this is an ancient text called the Sumanādevīvatthu. And our mission really is to unpack this rich story, not just because it's a great tale, but to pull out those, potent nuggets of wisdom about merit, joy, and spiritual growth. Okay, let's jump right in. We start in a bustling ancient city, Sāvatthi, and focus on two remarkably generous people. So picture Sāvatthi, it's vibrant, alive, and right at the heart you have these two figures, Anāthapiṇḍika and Visākhā. Their generosity wasn't just, notable. It was extraordinary. Think about this. Their homes fed 2,000 bhikkhus daily. 2,000 every single day, without fail. I mean, that alone is quite something.
It really is. And what caught my eye in the source material is the societal custom that grew up around them. It wasn't just that they gave, but how people viewed their giving. Apparently, if anyone else in Sāvatthi wanted to make a donation, a significant one, they'd actually check with Anāthapiṇḍika or Visākhā first. The text explicitly says if these two weren't around, even a huge donation, like worth 100,000, it was looked down upon, criticized.
Wow.
Yeah. It really underlines how essential their sort of validation was. It points to this deep societal respect for their understanding, their spiritual discernment.
That is fascinating, isn't it? So
Yeah.
Anāthapiṇḍika and Visākhā, they sound almost like gatekeepers for generosity. Was that usual, or is there something more to it? What made them so vital?
That's a really good question. And it wasn't gatekeeping in like a negative way, not about control. It was about insight, deep insight. Anāthapiṇḍika and Visākhā, they just knew the bhikkhus, their preferences, what they needed. They understood how to make sure everything was done properly, so the bhikkhus were not just fed, but genuinely content. People would often actually take them along to their own homes when making offerings because they felt, well, kind of unable to serve the bhikkhus correctly themselves.
Oh.
It shows this huge level of trust, right? And this understanding that real generosity, it's more than just handing something over. It's about the quality, the understanding behind the act.
Right, that makes perfect sense. The quality and the intention. Okay, so naturally, with everyone wanting their input, Anāthapiṇḍika and Visākhā couldn't be everywhere at once. So they did what good leaders do, they delegated. Visākhā, for example, put her granddaughter, her son's daughter, in charge of serving the bhikkhus at her place. And Anāthapiṇḍika did something similar, starting with his own daughters. His eldest, Mahāsapada. She took on this important duty. And while she was serving, and also listening to the Dhamma, the teachings, she achieved something significant. She became a Sotapanna. That's stream entry. After this profound spiritual step, she married and moved on. Then came the middle daughter, Kulasapada. She followed exactly the same path. Served the bhikkhus, listened to the Dhamma, also became a Sotapanna. And then she too married.
Yeah, and it's probably worth just pausing for a second on Sotapanna. What does that actually mean in this context?
Good point.
Becoming a stream enterer, it's a really crucial stage, a major milestone on the Buddhist path. It basically means you've entered the stream, the path leading to enlightenment, irreversibly. You won't fall back into lower states. It's a definite commitment guaranteeing enlightenment within a maximum of 7 more lifetimes. So a foundational turning point.
A huge transformation then. Okay, so after her 2 older sisters, it was Anāthapiṇḍika's youngest daughter, Sumanādevī, who stepped up. She took on the role of serving the bhikkhus. And this is where Sumanādevī's story takes a really unexpected turn, something that makes you rethink things. After listening to the Dhamma, like her sisters, she also attained a spiritual fruit, but she went even further. She reached the stage of Sakadāgāmī, the once returner. And the source mentions she did this while still quite young, unmarried.
That's right. And Sakadāgāmī is definitely a higher stage than Sotapanna. So a Sotapanna, like we said, has up to 7 lives left. A Sakadāgāmī, they're guaranteed to return to the human world at most 1 more time before full enlightenment. It shows deeper progress, much closer to liberation.
Okay, so she reaches this higher stage, but then tragedy strikes. Sumanādevī falls really ill, suddenly, severely. The text says she was greatly afflicted, afasugena atura. She stopped eating. And in her final moments, she asks for her father. She wants to see Anāthapiṇḍika. He hears the news, rushes from an almsgiving he was attending. You can only imagine, worried, heartbroken. He gets there full of compassion and asks her, what is it, dear Sumana? And her reply. This is what's so perplexing for him. Sumanādevī, lying there, looks at her father and says, "What is it, younger brother?" Younger brother. I mean, you could just picture Anāthapiṇḍika's face. Total confusion.
Absolutely. It's jarring.
He naturally assumes she's delirious from the illness. He says gently, "You are delirious, dear." But she's completely clear, insistent. I am not delirious, younger brother.
Mm.
He's still trying to process this, maybe thinking she's frightened, so he asks, are you scared, dear? And her final words, unwavering, right before she passes away, I am not scared, younger brother. And then she was gone.
Just
Imagine Anāthapiṇḍika's grief then. Doubled, right? Not just losing his daughter, but thinking her last words were confused, delirious. Even though he himself was a Sotapanna, spiritually advanced, text says he just couldn't overcome his sorrow. It hit him hard. He performs her funeral rites, still deeply troubled by that final exchange. And then, weeping, he goes to the Buddha. The Buddha sees his distress, of course, and asks him kindly, what's wrong?
Yeah, and this really illustrates something powerful, doesn't it? Even someone with deep spiritual attainment like Anāthapiṇḍika isn't immune to human sorrow, especially losing a child. That pain, it's profound. His wisdom as a Sotapanna didn't just erase that grief. It's a very human reaction.
Exactly. So Anāthapiṇḍika pours out his heart, tells the Buddha his confusion, his sadness, that his wonderful, virtuous daughter seemed delirious at the very end. He repeats their whole conversation, word for word. Younger brother. Not delirious. Not scared.
And then comes this incredible moment. The Buddha's clarification completely reframes everything. He tells Anāthapiṇḍika quite simply, your daughter was not delirious.
Wow.
The real reason she called him younger brother, it was because, spiritually speaking, she was his senior. He was the Sotapanna. She, as we know, had attained the higher fruit of Sakadāgāmī. So in terms of the path, the spiritual journey and its results, she was older, more advanced.
She was spiritually senior to her own father.
Exactly. The Buddha confirmed this directly to him. It's this profound redefinition of seniority not based on age or family role, but on spiritual attainment.
That's quite a perspective shift. Incredible. So Anāthapiṇḍika, finally understanding, must have felt some relief, but then naturally he asked the next question. Where was Sumanādevī reborn?
Right, he needed that reassurance. And the Buddha told him she was reborn in Tusita heaven.
Tusita.
Yes, Tusita is one of the higher celestial realms, a very fortunate rebirth, often associated with bodhisattvas, being set on enlightenment. It's a place of deep spiritual joy.
Okay.
Hearing this brought Anāthapiṇḍika immense joy. The text says he reflected that his daughter, who found happiness with her family here, was now reborn somewhere with even greater joy. It was a beautiful confirmation for him.
A confirmation of her practice, her merit. And to really drive the point home, the Buddha then gave Anāthapiṇḍika this powerful verse. It perfectly sums up Sumanādevī's story and the whole idea of merit. He said, here he rejoices. Hereafter he rejoices. The doer of good rejoices in both places. He rejoices thinking, I have done good. He rejoices even more when gone to a good destination.
It's such a concise and profound verse. Let's break it down a bit. Here he rejoices. That's the joy you feel in this life. It comes from the act itself, right?
Yep.
The satisfaction, the inner contentment you get from doing good things, from wholesome actions.
Okay, the joy of doing.
Exactly. Then, hereafter he rejoices. That's the joy in the next life. This is the joy of the results, the vipakkha, experiencing the positive consequences, the fruits of those good actions.
The outcome.
Precisely. And the doer of good, that just refers to anyone who's cultivated merit, whether through giving, ethical conduct, meditation, developing wisdom, rejoices in both places, emphasizes this dual aspect. Happiness now from knowing you've acted well, and even greater happiness later from experiencing the results. The verse then contrasts them. Rejoicing now, thinking I have done good, is described as almost a minor joy, a pleasant feeling from the action, but rejoices even more when gone to a good destination. That's the really significant part. The joy of the results is far greater, far more profound. Think of Sumanādevī. Reborn into Tusita heaven, the text says she'll experience divine bliss, divine wealth, and rejoice exceedingly for, get this, 57,600,000 years.
Wow. That's hard to even comprehend.
It is. It illustrates that vast, enduring joy that comes directly from her spiritual attainment, her merit.
A powerful lesson on cause and effect, played out over lifetimes, and the impact of hearing this teaching from the Buddha. The source says it was huge. Many people listening attained Sotapanna or other stages right then and there. The discourse was incredibly fruitful for the whole assembly, inspiring them. So, quite a journey we've taken. From the incredible generosity in Sāvatthi, through Anāthapiṇḍika's daughters finding the path, right up to Sumanādevī's mysterious last words and the Buddha's profound explanation.
Absolutely. And the core takeaway, I think, is that wisdom, that knowledge. Yeah. It's most valuable when it's deeply understood and lived, when it's applied. This story really shows how cultivating merit, Cultivating inner wisdom doesn't just bring peace now, but shapes our future in profound ways, leading to that lasting joy Sumanādevī found. It's about those unseen currents, isn't it?
It really is. So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? Well, this story gives us a really powerful lens, a way to look at our own actions, our own intentions, and their effects, even the ones we don't immediately see. It definitely challenges us to think about what seniority really means. Maybe it's less about years lived or social standing, and more about, well, our inner development, the depth of our wisdom and compassion. And here's a final thought to leave you with. If someone's spiritual depth can literally rewrite family dynamics, as it did between Sumanādevī and her father, and determine where they land in the next life, what unseen gifts, what returns might your own acts of kindness, your own moments of wisdom be quietly building up for you, both right now and perhaps somewhere down the line?